Welcome back to another episode of Surrender for Sanity. I am your host of today's podcast, Angela Richardson. I want to say this is episode number 11, maybe. I'm not really sure. I think it's number 11. Last week, I'm a bit behind. Last week, I recorded a word of encouragement and uploaded it over on TikTok. I never put it here. So today, what we're going to be talking about is being strong and very courageous, all right? And recognizing when God is stretching you versus you stressing, all right? So, and I'm going to start out with a little bit of story time. And before I do, this podcast is for those that are committed to Christ. You have surrendered your life fully to Christ and you are looking to be equipped along the journey, encouraged in love, and edified in God's word. That's what I do here. I am a master life coach. And I'm just here. God has used me as a blueprint just to help those that are coming along in their journey, just like I have. All right. So I'm going to start off today with a little bit of story time, so to speak. And this starts out now. Some of you, like I said in the podcast before, maybe a couple of podcasts ago, the Lord has ushered me out where I'm renting a room from the Enoch house from the building that my church owns. So, and I felt some sort of way about that, but I wasn't sure. I said, God is doing something. I don't know what, but there's a reason he's got me here because I don't have transportation. This whole journey has been one for the books. It is in a book, literally. Okay. Now, what I will say is this. I'll start this out by letting you know, I think it was last week or maybe the week before on a Thursday, I decided to go out and get some air. I was like, I need to get out of this room for a little bit to get some exercise, get some air. It was early in the morning, about 9:30. And I'll be honest, I was like, I'm going to leave and go for a walk up to the store. I need to get a money order for my rent. And I said, I will do this. Excuse me, guys. During the time, it's 9:30 in the morning. There's not a whole lot of people out and it's not lunchtime yet. So I won't risk that chance of running into anyone I know. I mean, seriously, that's just how I felt, because coming back here with no car, nothing, it's a humbling experience. This journey has been humbling yet rewarding. Yet I still struggle with things in my flesh, just being honest with you. Okay. So as I left here to go on my walk, I walked out the door. I'm headed up the drive. As I'm headed up the drive, the school is right next door, Enoch Christian Academy. And the founder, Dr. Falk, and her daughter, Taryn, they were walking out together. Taryn is a teacher. So as they were walking out, we literally just, I want to say, collided or walked right into one another. So we spoke and we started walking together. They were coming out as the kids were going to go out for recess. They were walking out just to get a bit of exercise, so to speak. So as we just walked together until we ended up, going in different directions. And as we were walking, we were sharing our testimonies. Excuse me, guys. I feel like there's lint or something on my nose. But as we were walking and sharing our testimonies, I spoke on some things that I have gone through on this journey and what I thought God was doing with me now. They shared their testimony and we went our separate ways. So the next day I remembered, I was like, you know what? I was talking so much. I didn't finish hearing all of Sister Taryn's, her testimony. So I text her to ask her, you mentioned this, putting a bid on the house, but how did that work out? If the Lord was leading you from New York and leading you off the job, this is right before COVID. How did all that work out? So we were discussing this and she was telling me how God had led her to New York for teaching. And she had gotten a job as a teacher's aide and she was going back to school basically. She was living in community living just like I am right now. And I was like, oh, wow. And she was just sharing some things about how it was infested with roaches and people were stealing her food from the refrigerator. I was like, my God, so my living is nothing like that. Thank God. So she was in New York, so we know how that can be. So as we were talking about these things, and she's telling me that she was a teacher's aide, during this time for income, I said, you know what? Maybe they could use a teacher's aide over at the academy, because I know with my sister Monica that as far as the cleaning, she can't always come pick me up in the way that she used to. It's not always convenient for her, and I do understand. And I knew that God was transitioning me. I knew He was transitioning me when I moved here, and also when we were walking together. I said to myself, God is up to something. I don't know what it is, but He's up to something. So I mentioned to her, I said, you know what? Speaking of teacher's aides, do you guys need any teacher's aides or assistants over at the academy? Right then, she replied to my text and she said, my mom told me to ask you if you would like to help us here at the academy, if you would like to fill in sometimes. I said, sure. I immediately knew that's where God was leading me at that point. I had been praying and asking God, what is my assignment in this season? I had no idea what He was doing, but I knew there was a reason I had to be here, right here at the Enoch house, renting this room. There's a reason why He led me back to the church, and I can go into that later. But there's a reason why He told me to come back to the church, renew my covenant, and me being here, had I not have been obedient and came back here or moved here, I wouldn't have decided to go out for a walk that day. I wouldn't have run into them to receive the provision in this season. And also, right after that, Dr. Falk said to me, the person that was going to fill in for summer camp could not do it, and they were in need of help. Would you like to work for us and assist us for summer camp? It is full time. All I could say was, my God, yes. So she said, I'm so grateful God sent you. You are our ram in the bush. So I want to tell you guys today, be obedient to whatever it is that God is telling you to do. Those nudges, that inner knowing that you receive, that unction, be obedient. You know, like I said, had I not been obedient, had I let my pride get in the way and decided I don't want to live here and sought out friends and decided to go stay with them, I would have missed my provision. Now, God gives us a choice, and He would have allowed me to go about on my own way. However, this is my assignment, part of it, where God wanted me in this season to help the children. And let me tell y'all something. When you talk about being stretched, oh my goodness, it's a bit different. Working with children is really different, but it's so rewarding, you know. So I want you to recognize, I want to say this first. Be strong and very courageous. As it says in Joshua 1:9, be strong and very courageous. Don't allow what you don't know to stop you from stepping into what God is doing with you in this particular season. Yes, some things, you know, it may come across to you as stress, but what God is doing is stretching you, and you have to recognize the difference between the two. And you might ask, what is the difference between being stretched and stressing? You know, stressing is Satan. God is not here to stress us or to have us worried in that way. You know, sometimes we can get in our own way. It could be our flesh, or sometimes it's Satan telling you, you can't do this. This is too much for you. And I will say this. I never thought this is too much for me or I can't do it. I know I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and so can you. So working with children, I don't know anything about being a teacher, but as my pastor said, you raise your children, right? But it's different when you're in the classroom. This is pre-K through 5th grade, so it's really different. So these kids know Spanish, and they know more than I do. They know Spanish, you know, they're learning English, math, and language arts, all of the things, all right? And for me, Bible stories, you know, so that was, I love that part of it, to be honest with you. So I will say the difference in being stretched is stretching produces fruit. So I'm learning right along with the children all over again. You know, when it comes to math and science and all of these things, Spanish, you know, when God said I would be bilingual, I didn't know I would learn in this way. Not to say this is where I will learn it, but it's a start, okay? So I just wanted to share that with you guys today. Be bold, be strong, and very courageous, and step out and be obedient to God. Don't look at the assignment as this is too much. I can't do this. Because I'm going to tell you, working with kids is really different. I'm used to an office setting, going to work every day, putting in my headphones, depending on what duty I would have, and working behind a desk and sitting there, just doing my thing, basically just working independently. But now you have to work together as a team with the other teachers. You're assisting and helping. I am anyways. Summer camp is going to be different. We're going to be going on lots of field trips, keeping the kids busy. So it could be overstimulating. For me, it was last week a bit overstimulating at first, because the kids are, they can kind of bombard you at first when they see, oh, she's green, she don't know what she's doing. So, but I was like, okay, Mama Angela's gonna have to take over now, because the kids think they can get over on me, and the teachers told me you got to be careful because they will try to get over on you, and they really do. But I tell you, I love those sweet faces. They're awesome. They're wonderful children. And I'm just grateful for this opportunity here, to work with them, and to just learn all over again, learn some things, stimulate my mind, things like that. And just kind of learning how to hear God right in that moment, regardless of feeling overstimulated, but just learning how to adjust to whatever it is that comes my way. Because these assignments that God is going to send you on, they're not going to be, it's not going to always be what you want. It's about where God is sending you, where he needs you in the moment, in the season. So, and where he sends you, again, it's not going to be what you want. It might not always look the way you want it to look, but you have to recognize God's hand at work and just be obedient and be bold and very courageous and stepping into whatever it is he's called you to do. Because if he called you to do it, he's prepared you for it. You just step in and be the ram in the bush for someone else. All right. Again, it's not about you. It's about where you're needed. Okay. So I just wanted to share that with you today and encourage you again, and along the way, and just know that God's got you. Again, there's safety, provision, and purpose in God's will. I hope I've covered everything. I love you guys, and I will see you next week, hopefully with another update. But I will see you next week for another episode of Surrender for Sanity. And remember, remain committed along the journey so that you succeed, not just survive. Take care, and I will see you guys soon.